afternoon, sunshines. It is a lovely day in Michigan. 75 degrees out. Lovely Sunday afternoon. I've got my iced coffee. And let me just say, welcome to my happy place. I'm going to go ahead and take you on a little garden walk. This is my happy place on this lovely, gorgeous afternoon. Not the most ideal time to be filming, but things were a little busy this morning. Had company this afternoon. So, welcome to my garden. I was able to get some Loveline's bleeding amaranth and the dark red hibiscus planted on either side of the little pavilion here as you come into the garden. I still have not gotten the compost, the leaf mulch compost for amending the grow bags, but I'm hoping to do that maybe, if not tonight. I have plans tomorrow, so maybe Tuesday. And then we're almost due to be weed whipped again. Things are starting to grow a little bit. We had a little bit of a reprieve in that heat wave. Things didn't grow quite so fast. Peppermint, as usual, is looking lovely. Cleared out a little bit here so the kale and the zinnias had a little bit more room. Got the lilies weeded, mostly. Apparently I missed a nice little stalk here in the front. They should be blooming probably within the week. Got some gem marigolds, little hanging baskets on a little plant hanger. The echinacea should be blooming anytime now. Got the grapes cleared out. We chopped and dropped the comfrey. It's already coming back nice and strong. For a while I was really feeling like the chard and kale wasn't doing very well and it wasn't growing very fast, and then I went back and looked at some of my videos from the end of May and realized they're actually doing pretty darn well, except that one's kind of fallen over. I'm not sure why. Pretty soon I will be eating off of the chard for sure. Hello there, Fergus. How are you? Herb bed's doing good. I planted little, I think I said in another video, cucuzzi melon, but it was actually cucamelon. Seeds there at the base of that fence, and they still have not come up. The borage is looking lovely as it takes over my herb bed. Hyssop's blooming. There's a lot of insect activity in this area. See, these are the comfrey that I cut off. You'd never even know I mean, obviously from not being so tall and covered with flowers, you can tell that I cut them off, but they don't look like they've experienced any trauma from it. You are making it very difficult to walk, Lucky. You want to say hi? She seems to like my dress. Chocolate mint, violets and sage. The Egyptian walking onions all over the garden are looking lovely. Getting little sprouts and curly cues on top. I've eaten a little bit of this kale in the corner of the orange mint bed. The onions are starting to bulb, which makes me very, very happy. I have never grown onions that have actually bulbed. So I'm excited to see that. The tomatoes are growing well. The sunflower volunteers will be blooming probably within the next week or so. Excited to see those. Always love to have a spot of color. The brassicas, I'm almost afraid to brag about how good they look, because as soon as I do, I'll end up with all the bugs that eat them down to nothing. But look at this cabbage. I know it's still small. I know it's very late in the season, and I know they still aren't all that big, but compared to when I put them in here, they look great. And they're growing. And they look so healthy. And they have purple veins, for Pete's sakes. It's absolutely gorgeous. Whoops. Can't see with the shadow of the camera. Do not jump in there. Over here, this chard and amaranths have grown quite a bit since I put them in there. It's always good to get a little reminder of how small they were when I put them in there, when I start thinking they're never going to grow big enough to harvest. The tomatoes are doing well. I've been trying to keep up on trimming off any little flowers that are starting before they get established up onto the trellis. Lucky, you're going to end up getting stepped on, young lady. You keep dropping and rolling in front of my feet when I'm not paying attention. The stevia I transplanted's doing well. The shishito peppers are growing. A lot of the peppers, to me, are still quite small. Some are kind of yellowish, which does concern me, but I did put some fertilizer on, so I'm hoping that will improve. But again, when I go back and look at other videos, I see that they have grown. This particular, what is this? Ground cherry, Aunt Molly's ground cherry, is still very small, but that one got unburied a few times. And then we have the daisies by the rock. We're getting ready to have a zinnia bloom here in the stump. Have more tomatoes and peppers and ground cherries. Now, this raspberry plant has had the berries on it for quite a while, but they're not ripening. And I'm not sure if they're just slow to ripen and I'm just overly anxious, or if maybe something's happened and they're not going to ripen. I'll have to watch it and see. I did overly sort of drown this area twice by forgetting to turn off the sprinkler. So I don't know if maybe I got too much water at the wrong time, not enough water when it needed it. I'm not sure. And the raspberries continue to spread into other areas of the garden. I am debating whether or not to uproot some of these little runners and plant them somewhere else. Maybe start a designated bed for them. I mean, leave the main one here because it's established, but some of these runners are stretching out kind of far. I don't know. I'll have to think on that a little bit. Some of these tomatoes are looking great. A couple of these San Marzanos didn't suffer much damage from the coons, and one is already up to the trellis, so that's very good to see. I have a volunteer, some sort of cucumber or summer squash or something. I'm not sure. We'll wait and see what that ends up being. I'm never one to turn down a volunteer. The flower bed over here is looking lovely. I do have my first zinnia of the year. A very beautiful peachy coral color. I like it. It looks like one of the cosmos, one of the xanthos cosmos on the far side is getting ready to have a blossom on it. That will be very pretty to see. These peppers, you can really tell which ones I had transplanted into cups on time and which ones were stuck in their little grouped containers for far too long. The jalapenos are some of these bigger ones here. And the buena mulatas down on the end were in cups. Some of the chili peppers were in cups. What was the other one down here? Some of these poblanos. But yeah, you can definitely tell the smaller ones were kept in their little containers all together for too long. But we'll see how they're doing. I fertilized this as well. I pretty much fertilized everything in the garden just to give it a boost. So hopefully things will start picking up soon. I do see that these black pearls are, they're looking like they're now established and gonna start doing something. I see teeny tiny bits of new growth coming up on them. The potato beds are jamming, even with all the extra stuff in this one. This one bunching onion is looking very lovely and healthy. A couple carrots are looking good. The kale still doesn't look like it's, getting old and drying out, so I'm going to leave that a little bit longer. And the spinach does start looking like it's drying out. The seeds are just starting to kind of brown, so we're going to let those finish drying out and save as many of the seeds as we can. But this is the purple potato bed, the blue, Adirondack blue. Over here is the Yukon Gold on the far side and the red Norland on this side, as well as a few volunteers from last year. I think there's actually 3 of them. This was the little itty bitty tiny one. You can see the purple in the leaves. And then there's this one, and you can see there's some little buds just starting. And then there's this one over here, and it also has a couple buds just starting. Oops, sorry kitty. I did warn you, if you stepped underneath me, you were gonna get stepped on. I'm sorry. So they are just starting to put buds out as the oldest potatoes of the bunch. Once the blooms are done, anytime after that, you can start harvesting potatoes. But if we let them stay longer until the whole plant starts dying off, they'll tend to be bigger potatoes to harvest. So we'll wait and see how all this goes. I'm sorry, Lucky. I didn't mean to step on you, sweetheart. I know, now you're hiding from me. I don't blame you. Poor thing. Luckily, I don't think I stepped on her too horribly. So, over here, I do still have some plants along the greenhouse. Not real sure what I'm going to end up doing with all of them. I do have the lemongrass on this side, down at the bottom, and the zinnia over on that side. And then all the cherry tomatoes on the inside of the arches. This side has a Tulsi basil. It's actually starting to grow, so I'm happy to see that. Took it a while. It was a very small one to begin with. And another zinnia over here. I am very excited about these cherry tomatoes. I'm not a big cherry tomato fan myself. I'm not a big tomato fan, period, as far as just eating tomatoes, like on salads or chunks or even big diced. I think it's a texture thing with me, but I love everything made by tomatoes. I mean, chili and ketchup and spaghetti sauce and pizza sauce and all that. But these cherries, not necessarily the gobstopper or the sweeties, but the orange currant and the champagne bubbles are supposed to be less acid and a little sweeter. So I'm hoping maybe I'll find some cherry tomatoes that I like, and we'll be putting on salads and things like that. The strawberries are pretty much done. I see just a random few strawberries finishing up. This fennel is kind of taking over this end of the bed. Most of it is bronze, but there is one little green fennel in there. The red bee balm looks like it's getting closer to blooming, so that will be lovely. The hens and chicks are reaching that stage of summer where they're going to start stretching out and making their little stalks. They've lost their pretty dark red color. they get kind of fadey at the end of the summer. Well, not the end of the summer, but in the middle of summer. Spring is when they're really a pretty bright red. The elderberry raspberry bed is jamming. Have this lovely big chicory plant right here that we left. The raspberries still don't really look like they're putting out flowers or fruit this year, which is fine. They're probably still establishing themselves. I think a lot of raspberries only put fruit out on second year canes, and these had very, very teeny tiny canes last year. And most of the canes that they had last year kind of looked like they were dead this year, and that most of this is all new growth, some of it right up from the roots. So if we don't get fruit on these this year, I'm not going to panic. These little garlicky chive looking things are still pretty cool. They're kind of neat. Each one of these is like a little bitty clove in and of itself. I have a feeling if I planted them, they'd all grow. I may do that. See what happens. The thyme is in full bloom, and it just looks lovely. I do see this one little spot on the raspberries. It looks like it might possibly become flowers or fruit. So we'll keep an eye on that. The cosmos are lovely. This one looks like it's getting ready to bloom. Looks like a Xanthos Cosmo on the other side, which is one of the shorter yellow ones, is getting ready to bloom. That will be lovely. I do have the soaker hose going on here today. The elderberries are looking lovely. Growing quite a bit this year. I'm happy to see that growth. Hopefully next year. Right now, all the wild elderberries that I see all along the roads and everything are in full bloom. So I have a feeling these probably need one more year before they'll bloom and produce fruit, but that's okay. I will be patient and wait and let them be established, because then I will get plenty of fruit each year, and I'm looking forward to that. That pretty much does it for our garden walk. Oh, I did miss one thing. A little quick shot over here in the shade where it is like 10 degrees cooler than everywhere else. I have a cactus in a stump. I have not weeded around it this year, so it looks kind of a mess. But look at that lovely cactus bloom. So pretty. I really need to do something with these tires. I usually plant sweet potatoes in them, but I didn't do any sweet potato slips this year. So I may have to move these, roll them out of the way somewhere, and try to plant something else in this spot. It's getting late. I know it is June 26th, and most everything should be planted by now, but I am almost always behind in getting things planted. I still have not planted the beans and some more sunflowers on the berm wall across there, but I still plan on doing it. And even if the sunflowers don't get a chance to bloom, they should. I mean, they have until September, October. But even if they don't, if we can get them growing up strong and help support some beans, that would be good. The nice thing with beans is most of them are ready in like 2 to 3 months. And that means that'd be July, August, September. So I'd be harvesting in September. So it's a late harvest, but it's a very doable harvest. Having moved the grow bags from this section of the berm they had protected it from getting too weedy like the rest of the berm. So it does give me a little motivation to get in here and get some things planted in this space before it gets covered with weeds, and then get over there and pull the rest of those weeds out and make this a prettier spot. We'll see how that goes. I am still debating what is going to be the best plant to try to grow up this trellis and cover the pavilion. Lighting is an issue with this particular pavilion. The east side over here gets a very small window of light in the morning, and then its base is in the shade, and it has a large overhang. And then this side, it's very late in the day before it does get sun on its base, and then by the time the sun gets going over here, the tree will end up blacking. And so I don't think I could grow anything on either side of these lattice walls that requires full sun. So I would need to find something that can do well in a partial shade situation, because especially once it grows up, the wall, the overhangs, give it lots and lots of shade. So it would need to be able to climb up here and do okay in the shade up there as well, except on this south facing front. Once it grew up and was coming along the front, it might get a little bit more sun, but it would really have to hang out here. So if anybody has ideas of some sort of ivy or vining plant that would thrive in that sort of a situation, please feel free to let me know. Alrighty, this will do it for our garden tour for the day. It's nice to see the things that I have actually gotten in the ground are doing well. And I will be getting fresh greens here soon. In fact, I may come out tomorrow morning and pick some of this chard and have myself some chicken salad wraps. I haven't had fresh ones in a long time, and that just sounds really, really good. I have been noticing some volunteers over here by my cherry tomatoes. There's some cherry tomatoes. And I'm not sure if they are a cucumber or a melon. I've had both over in this area. In this particular spot last year, I think I had a lemon cucumber growing over here, but I'm really not sure what seeds got scattered this direction. On this other arch, I had a variety of personal melons, Kajari, Kiku chrysanthemums, tigers. So I would expect to see some volunteers over there maybe, but they're over here, so we'll see what comes up. I'll try to leave them if I can, at least the two that are right in the bed. So this is what is on the menu today. We have some Swiss chard. Then we have some plantain leaves and the seed stems. Then we have some dandelion leaves. I have some of the scapes off of the Egyptian walking onions, and I have some flowers off of the borage. So I will be making some Swiss chard, either wraps and or tacos. And I'll include a plantain leaf and dandelion leaf in each one, as well as a plantain seed stem. I will cut up some of the scapes and mix those in with my ham, egg, and cheese for breakfast and my chicken salad for lunch. And then I will top them with pretty blue borage flowers. So that is the breakfast and lunch plan for the day. As I'm watering this potato bed, I am noticing that these couple carrots that survived from last year are thinking about sending up flower heads. So I think it's time to check them and see if they're an actual carrot. And I might as well pull up this bunching onion while I'm at it. Let's go ahead and pull out these carrots and see what we have. Well, that's a disappointment. Huh. Doesn't look very carroty. Alrighty, what about this other one? Nope, that doesn't look very carroty either. Huh. Okay then. I guess no carrots from this batch. And what about this little bunching onion? We can take that inside. That looks good. We're going to take that inside and we'll cook that up with some supper. Cool. Y'all have a fabulous day.